Let's get into the business stories of the day. We start, of course, with oil, the lifeblood of OPEC Plus, the lifeblood of Nigeria, the lifeblood area was ticking up slightly. Traders got wind of U.S. President Donald Trump yesterday saying that, well, there might be some reprieve for the automobile sector in terms of tariffs. And you know, automobiles, of course, use fuel. That's the ICE vehicles, that is the internal combustion engine vehicles. So we saw a slight tick up. Brent crude 65.16. West Texas, that's North American grade, 61.83. But as you can see there, Nigeria's benchmark at 75. That's the oil prices need to be much higher for us to be able to fund everything that we need to do, like security. Okay, let's move on from there to OPEC. OPEC released their forecast for oil demand, and they've actually reduced it. So they're saying 2025, 2026, oil coming, this demand for oil coming down by about 1.3 million barrels per day. So that's about 150,000 barrels per day less than their prior forecast. For overall global growth, they're now also seeing 2025 at 3%, down from 3.1, 2026 at 3.1, down from 3.2, so just a basis point lower. But they did cite tariffs with respect to the impact on oil going forward. You've seen it in oil prices. Asia stocks this morning slightly mixed. I mean, at the time when we were compiling this, the Hang Seng was teetering between positive and negative. That's down, China down as well. But the Nikkei, the Kospi, the TAIEX in Taiwan, S&P, ASX 200 in Australia, they were on the up and up. Also the Nifty 50 and the Sensex in India as well. So they got, I mean, between some of the exemptions for technology and then the vehicle matter with Trump yesterday, that's why Asian stocks were climbing up just a bit. Now, President Xi Jinping is on a Southeast Asia tour, ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. This picture was taken, of course, that's To Lam in Vietnam. He had a big reception in Hanoi where he landed. They signed a number of agreements, about 45 of them. He had an interesting comment. He said that they should join China in pushing against bullying, which of course was a dig at America. So he's going to be visiting Vietnam. I think he's going to Malaysia and then Cambodia. They signed a number of agreements within Vietnam on rail, AI. ASEAN is China's largest trading partner. Looking at the first quarter, we looked at China's trade yesterday. 234 billion, 16.6% of China's total trade, 7% increase as far as the region is concerned, higher than the United States. So what China is doing, they are decentralizing their supply chains, and essentially if you see exports from China to the US going down, you'll notice that they're going up in Vietnam, which is why Trump is trying to just target everywhere because they're trying to move around there. South Korea, we talked about the support package that they put together for automobiles to the tune of about $2 billion last week. South Korea has now announced this is about 33 trillion won, if I'm getting my exchange rate correct. It's about 1,490 something won to the dollar. So it comes out to about $23.2 billion in additional support for the semiconductor industry in South Korea. We all know about TSMC and all these big chip companies that are in Taiwan. Between America, China and Taiwan, those are the largest hubs for the semiconductor industry. So they're going to be subsidizing power transmission lines that feed energy over to these chip clusters. They're also going to be putting together low-interest loans to the tune of about $14 billion. I think that's about 24 trillion won. And they also want to boost training and research programs. So Taiwan is really pushing a lot of money for it. But again, don't forget, Korea is a $1.7 trillion economy, so they are really big and they've got the money to put these things together. U.S. markets yesterday, they were on the up and up, but then you see the margins, they're not too high. The Dow Jones, the S&P, the NASDAQ climbing again on the back of language of perhaps a tariff reprieve of some sorts from President Trump. Here is President Trump saying that all pharmaceutical production and production of medicines have to be done in the United States. And then he talked about an interesting inverse relationship with the pressure he puts on other countries with tariffs and how they come rushing to the U.S. to negotiate. Here he is in the Oval Office yesterday.
Pharmaceuticals we're going to do, we don't make our own drugs, our own pharmaceuticals. We don't make our own drugs anymore. The drug companies are in Ireland and they're in lots of other places, China. And all I have to do is impose a tariff. The more the faster they move in. The higher the tariff, it's very simple. It's inversely proportional. The higher the tariff, the faster they come. And yeah, we're going to be doing that. That's going to be like we have on cars. We have, as you know, a 25% tariff on cars. We have a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. And that's what that category fits right now.
Do you have a percentage in mind and a timeline?
I have a timeline, yeah, not too distant future. We're doing it because we want to make our own drugs. We're doing it because we want to make our own steel and aluminum, lumber, other things.
So this is the confusion. He's talking about tariff on the final product, which is a car. He's also talking about the tariff on the inputs like steel, which go into making the cars. So you hear that, and then here he is now saying that, okay, you know what, actually we're going to give some relief to the automobile industry. So it's really a lot confusing, but here he is on the cars. And Apple.
How long is short-lived? Weeks, months?
I'm looking at something to help some of the car companies where they're switching to parts that were made in Canada, Mexico, and other places. And they need a little bit of time because they're going to make them here. But they need a little bit of time. So I'm talking about things like that.
What about any Apple products, other cell phones?
Look, I'm a very flexible person. I don't change my mind, but I'm flexible. And you have to be. You just can't have a wall and you'll only go. No, sometimes you have to go around it, under it, or above it. There'll be maybe things coming up. I speak to Tim Cook. I helped Tim Cook recently, and that whole business. I don't want to hurt anybody, but the end result is we're going to get to the position of greatness for our country.
Right, so the debate continues. Can America handle its entire supply chain? Can you produce everything within your country? The answer is no. There's a clip that's been trending on social media. Dave Chappelle, the actor and comedian, this is back in 2018, where he actually rejected Chinese jobs coming back to the United States. He was taking a dig at Trump 1.0. Take a listen.
All this ideas sound like high people ideas. Like he doesn't think these things through before he tells us. He just tells us what he's thinking as soon as it occurs to him. It sounds nuts. I'm gonna go to China and I'm gonna get those jobs from China and bring them back here to America. For what? So iPhones can be $9,000? Leave that job in China where it belongs. None of us want to work that hard. What is he thinking? I want to wear Nikes. I don't want to make them. What are you doing? Stop trying to give us Chinese jobs.
Stop trying to give us Chinese jobs. Finally, Nigeria signing a deal with a Chinese conglomerate, Sinomac. It's supposed to be worth about $1 billion to boost Nigeria's self-sufficiency in sugar. As you know, with everything else, Nigeria just cannot meet up with her demand for sugar in terms of what is being produced. So Sinomac, of course, this is through the Sugar Development Council, the NSDC. I think we're going to build a facility that's supposed to be able to produce about 100,000 metric tons of sugar, hopefully boosting that to 1 million, and hopefully, boost Nigeria's sugar sufficiency. But again, it's a long way to go, but it's a good deal in that respect when you think about the agriculture chain for Nigeria and the likes. That's our update for today. Okay. On business, anyway.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So real quickly, truth has to be said. Trump is just flip-flopping.
Yeah, of course.
Yearly, couple of days ago, the customs were talking about the fact that there was going to be some reprieve on some electronics and phones and the likes. He went to Truth Social, said that was not the case again. Yeah. Now with this, he's pretty much saying, okay, we'll look at these things. Because when you look at the cost of selling an Apple phone, it's definitely going to triple because of all of this. And the funny thing he fails to realize is the fact that even if you want to manufacture, your raw materials, your source equipment that are coming from other parts of the world, you have tariffed those parts.
Exactly.
So you are going to be carrying on a higher cost of the raw materials in the first place. And there's been a survey done that says most Americans don't want to go back to factory jobs.
Exactly.
It was good while it lasted.
Yeah.
But over the years, this pivot was not now. This pivot has taken well over 40 years. Because about 40 years ago, most of these countries started pivoting to the service sector.
Yep.
So, and deliberately, it was an attempt, they've pushed most of the manufacturing jobs to very low-wage economies like China, Vietnam, and the likes, and that's why they manufacture everything. But they get their leverage on the technology itself, patent itself, and expanding their own consumerism and the markets or the consumer markets. And it has worked for them all this while.
Yeah.
And like I always argue, the American economy was not broken before Trump came in. It was the beacon of hope for the world.
Of course.
The Economist magazine said it was an economy to be sought after. It was an economy on the ascendancy. It was a 27 going to 28 trillion economy. About 10 trillion more than the next available economy.
Yeah.
And they were fighting with their deficit problems, all being over 36 trillion. Most of those bonds were held by other countries of the world, the likes of Japan and the likes, because they believe in the viability. And that's why those countries came back to hurt them with the bond market. So all of this he has done, he has just upended the world order when it comes to trade. And it's having a cascading effect. Just because he wants to save money for his rich friends, the 10, 11 trillion in tax cuts.
Yeah.
As regards sugar, let's see where this deal is going to come from. But I just hope the Chinese will be able to sort of like build infrastructure, build skill, build architecture in the sugar value chain here, so we can do a lot more with local production of sugar. Back in the days in the 60s, we used to have the likes of Basita sugar.
We did.
But why are we not producing as much? We used to have Chet and Lale of this world. Why are we not producing as much? So we need to be able to introspect. And we can see the way of the world. The likes of countries like Korea, they're having investment in areas of comparative advantage. Semiconductor is an important area of comparative advantage for them. It's so huge that if you remember the song by Psy, Gangnam Style, most of the companies in the Gangnam district were semiconductor millionaires and billionaire companies. It's a cultural thing. In fact, there are people they call Gangnam children.
Yeah.
Children that live in this Gangnam district of rich semiconductor companies. So please, we need to introspect, look for areas of comparative advantage. That's what Trump should be looking at.
Well, I'm surprised you haven't brought the news of NVIDIA making a commitment to set up... Reuters, come on. Well, NVIDIA has made a commitment to set up an AI manufacturing. This will be the first, what is it called? The supercomputer AI manufacturer is the first that they'll be doing in America. It's supposed to begin in Houston and expand from there. They're looking at creating about $500 billion of AI infrastructure, all produced in the United States. Of course, Donald Trump has already said, well, this is the effect of the tariff, is that the idea is to bring some of this production to the United States. So I think that is something worth noting, mentioning, and let us let's keep track of it and see how that goes, because that is a big commitment from NVIDIA, especially for the tech industry. But still, my questions are around similar concerns to Rufai, around the supply chain, because we all know that even when it comes to the chips and all that's involved with regards to AI, supercomputers and so forth, the raw materials still lie outside of the United States. Yeah. So there's still a big conversation to be had there. And again, we continue to say, we're just waiting for Africa to continue to hopefully at some point decide to show up at the table, because most of these resources lie with us, easily available. Come on, this is our moment. This is our moment.
State governors.
No. What's under the ground does not belong to the governors.
But
so that one is on federal.
Well, a good point, but you can push.
There's a big dichotomy there.
You can push.
Federal, you can push.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation. Thank you for accepting that NVIDIA is moving to manufacture in the United States.